Hey students, this is Pastor Justin and I have a fantastic, awesome announcement that I want to share with you. Next week, next Wednesday night on June 10th, we are going to be live. Come on somebody. Yeah. We're going to be live right here. So I am going to give you kind of a little tour of what you can expect for on this Wednesday night. We've made some changes because of all the things that have been happening. So here's what you need to know. Number one is this. We are going to be meeting and beginning at 7 o'clock. We'll meet right outside of the south entrance. So if you are a student, every student has to enter and exit through the rear entrance, the south entrance, the BSC entrance, okay? So if you have a parent dropping you off, make sure they drop you off in the back. You'll not be able to get access through the building. You got to come through the back and you got to leave through the back. So here's what you need to know. We are going to be doing a 1 hour service-ish, okay? So that means we're going to get done about 8:05 to 8:10, so that way your parents can get in the car and come back and pick you up. But we are going to start right at 7. So if you show up a little bit early, we're probably going to have you waiting outside in line, and then we're going to let you in. We're going to come in, and you're going to be checked in either outside, or we will check you in as we're walking through the main side doors. Yeah, we just came inside. Yep, we're coming through in here, and oh man, guess what? I'm going to show you what the room looks like. Booyah. It's going to be right here. So you'll either come in through those big doors right there, front doors, and we're going to check in right here at the check-in desk if you haven't checked in already, and then you can see this whole room. It is completely different. The front's different. The stage is different. And of course, you realized it. We have 6-foot social distancing. What? I know. So if you're a student, you're probably thinking, well, why would I come to that? Because you need to, and we miss you. Yes, if you come, you will not be able to sit right by your friend. You'll be able to sit in proximity of probably at least a couple of your friends. You'll come in and you'll sit down. We're going to do some games without contact, social distancing. And then we'll have service and message and all that. And then right at the end, we'll release you so you can go ahead right back out the doors that you came in. And it's going to be completely different in here, but God is moving and God will move, and we are so excited to have you back. Our worship team is getting ready. They are preparing for some awesome new worship songs, and our leaders are getting super excited to have you back, and we cannot wait. That's going to be next week, June 10th. Starting right at 7 o'clock. So make sure you get here early so you can come in and get a seat. We are looking forward to meeting each one of you next week. So we will see you next week.
Good evening. Welcome to BSC and the Facebook Live, Facebook premiere, however you're viewing this on YouTube or whatever it might be. Pray that God just meets you right where you are and that you worship with us for the next few minutes. Lord God, just do what only you can do in Jesus' name. Amen. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When darkness falls, it won't prevail. Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. My God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. I'm not backing down from any giant. Now I know how the story ends. Now I know how the story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Now I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Now I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. Yeah, I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it for good. Turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it for good. Turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it for good. Turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, turn it for good. Turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, turn it for good. Turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Creation knows your voice, spoken to the void, the breath that brought the dust to life, and sang the stars were formed. darkness fears your voice. I drove it back before, and though the night is long, I know your light will drive it back once more. My line is not my own. Its end is in your hand. I worship you because I know all things must bow to your command. Can't go back to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place where you promised to be. As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear. Like the sun shaping the shadow, in my weakness your glory appears. I'm not enough unless you come. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Jesus, just have your way in our state, our community, and our towns. Oh my God, I ask that you just bless the message here in just a couple seconds. In Jesus' name, amen.
Welcome to BSC tonight. I asked Pastor Justin if I could share my heart on what has been happening and what's going on in our world. And so you're going to hear from both of us. I had the honor, the pleasure of graduating from Ames High. And in Ames, social justice and equality are a big deal and a big part of the community. And where I grew up, I didn't see much racism, and I thought it was gone. And it wasn't until I got kind of outside of that bubble that I realized there is much work to do. And if we had been doing the work all along, if we'd been standing up, we'd been listening, we wouldn't be where we are today. And here's the problem. I think one of the mistakes that sometimes we make is we lump people into groups. And so then we are blind to seeing them as a person. You know, you'll hear things like, well, those boomers, they're all fill in the blank. Or middle schoolers are all this way. You could even make it political. Anybody who votes for this person is this. And when you say those, you're putting people into groups and saying they're less. They act that way, and I don't agree with them, and I don't like them. And we can't do that. We need to see every single person as valuable, as somebody that needs our compassion and that we need to reach out to. You see, God doesn't tolerate being unkind. He doesn't tolerate putting people into groups and saying they don't matter. And I know this because of John 3:16. It says he sent his son to the whole world. He sent him to everyone. Not just a little group that looks like me or thinks like me. Galatians 3 says that we're all one human race before God. That there is neither male nor female. There's no Jew, there's no Greek, not in God's eyes. And we've got to stop treating people differently because they're different. Revelation 7 talks that there is going to be before the throne of God every nation, every tribe. We're all going to be together praising him. And so it's upon us to make a difference. And Matthew 5 says we can't even be unkind to our enemies. We're to be kind to everyone. You see, you're never going to find anyone who agrees with you fully. Not your best friend, not someday when you're married. No one has the same story as you, the same life experiences as you. And we've got to stop saying, well, if you don't think like me, block me, unfriend me, I don't even want to talk to you. That's not the kind of community that we need to have. Instead, we need to be listening. And when someone is telling us their point of view and their story, we should just stop and listen and be full of compassion. You see, Christianity is not full of gumdrops and rainbows all the time. Sometimes God asks us to do things that are hard. He asks us to love those that are different from us. He also expects us, when we see something happening that's not right, to take a stand. So when you see something that is not right, when you see an injustice being done, when you see unkindness, I don't care where it is. It could be online. Somebody's taking a picture of somebody and everybody's laughing. God wants you to stand up and say, you know what? That's not nice. You should stop. It will cost you. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. Anytime that you stand up to somebody and say, hey, what you're doing isn't very nice, it will cost you. You know, I think about the times in my life. There was a time, 7th grade math, our teacher was not known for being the most kind, and she was kind of known also for not really enjoying boys. And she was teaching a new concept, and somebody in our class raised his hand and he had a question, and she just made him feel like garbage. You could just tell she was being demeaning and she wasn't being very nice. And I stood up and I said, you need to stop. You are not making him feel nice, and you should be kinder than that. Well, the next couple weeks was fine, but I went to turn in a math assignment and I had lost one of the worksheets. Now, she had checked it off. It was in her grade book, but she tried to fail me. I'm telling you, when you stand up and you say something, sometimes it will cost you. I've had people who I've stood up to them and said, you shouldn't act that way, and sometimes they turn on you. But it doesn't matter. We have got to do the right thing no matter what it will cost us. You know, Jesus is our example. And he went out to people that his religious group hated. He went out to the tax collectors, to the sinners, and the religious leaders hated him for it and sought to bring him down. He even went out to a woman. Him as a male going out to women, especially a Samaritan woman, where those two groups, the Jews and the Samaritans, they hated each other, but he went out to her because he didn't care what people thought about him. He was reaching out with God's love. And here's what I want to say. When you stand up, you can do it respectfully. You can do it with a calm, a firm voice and say, that's not right. You need to stop. But you don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to stoop to their level. You know, and something else that I've been seeing is when sometimes you'll hear somebody's hurt and you want to give them all the reasons why they shouldn't be mad, but that's not what we need to do. When you hear somebody in pain or they're sharing something and you can tell that it matters to them, a counselor that both Justin and I know says, give their feelings a hug. A simple saying, I am so sorry you're going through that. I hear your pain and I'm sorry for it. Don't defend somebody else. And you're not saying that you totally agree with their side of this story. No, you're showing compassion and you're showing empathy. And I think about the police officers who have taken a knee. That's exactly what they've been doing. They've been giving the feelings a hug. And that might sound silly, but especially on social media, you see, well, this and this. That's not going to be a part of the solution. That's being kind of a part of the problem. And it's easy to dismiss other people's pain and their feelings when you've not had to walk what they've had to walk. I'm white. I've not had to walk what a minority has had to walk, but I can be a part of the solution. I can listen when they share their stories, and I can be filled with compassion. I mean, this past week I've said, God, open my eyes and show me what else do I need to do? And that's what I'm challenging you this week to say, God, open my eyes. Help me to know what to do. Now, if those of you who know me, I am not afraid to stand up and let my voice be heard. I don't have a problem with it, but sometimes it's lonely, and I feel like I'm the only one doing it. And so if you're too scared to say something, that's okay. Ask God for boldness and ask him to show you in that moment what to do. Sometimes, if you see two people, one person is picking on another person, all you have to do is go walk up and stand beside the person being picked on. And I'm telling you, just you standing there and giving support and encouragement could make a huge difference. And then I challenge you to ask God to give you boldness. He will do it. And ask him what you were supposed to do. Ask him to open your eyes to see the hurting around you, to see the injustice that is going around you. Now, as minors, it's my job to tell you to be safe and to do not go against what your parents are telling you to do. But when you can, at school, online, stand up for those that are being hurt. And like I said, it's easy to be dismissive when you haven't had to walk in their shoes. And I was thinking about it. I've lost a brother. I had a brother, and I watched him suffer, and I watched him lose his life to a disease. And I know how that affected me as a young person. And two things that I was thinking about. The first was, do you know how many times people have said, you were young, okay. And they just dismiss my pain, and then you feel alone and you feel like you have nowhere to go. It happens now, even as an adult. Oh, how old were you? Yeah. And you can just tell on their face they don't think that it should have mattered to you. And I'm telling you, all the people that have meant the most to me are the ones that took time to listen to my story, that would give me a hug and comfort me and encourage me. And again, I lost him to a disease. I cannot imagine the pain and the anger that I would be wrestling with if a person had taken him away from me. I also think about the time where we were going to Disney on Ice, and I was with my mom and I was with Avery, and we were trying to find our seats, and this employee came over and was like, do you need help? I said, no, I got it. And for whatever reason, he decided to be a jerk. He got up in my face. I can still smell his breath as he was just rude and ugly to me. That was once. I can't imagine if it was day after day, experience after experience, or if I saw people doing that to my kids, my brother, my sister. I'm saying it's easy to be dismissive when you haven't walked. And I'm asking us to do more and to be better, to listen when people are sharing their stories, to stand with those who need us to stand with them. I want to read something before I turn it over to Pastor Justin. It's Romans chapter 12, and it says the marks of a true Christian. I'm going to start in verse 9. It says, let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Racism is evil. Social injustice is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal, but be fervent in spirit. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation. Be constant in prayer. Verse 14 says, bless those who persecute you and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be wise in your own sight. Repay no one evil for evil. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. And then I'm going to skip down to verse 20. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by so doing, you will heap burning holes on his head. And do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And that's my challenge in the next couple of weeks, to ask God to show you how you can overcome evil with good. Listen when people are sharing their pain and stand up for those that need you to stand up. And together we can make BSC a better place. We can make our schools a better place. And don't wait for this big grand moment where everybody's watching and you stand up. No, it's in the little moments when nobody else is watching. When you stand up for those that are being picked on, who are those who are being mistreated. And my prayer is that we can change our world one day at a time, one person at a time.
Hey students, I just want to take a few moments as closing out from Crystal's great message tonight, and just want to talk about just something really quick. Since we've met last week, there's been a lot that's happened in the news. We got coronaviruses, we got places opening, things that are still shut, a lot of mixed feelings, but on top of that, all of this tension that's happened out of Minneapolis, all this racial tension. And you probably have seen that, experienced it, witnessed that, whether it's in firsthand, personally, or you've seen it probably on the news. And probably right now, and maybe in this past week, I bet there have been several of you that have said, if I had a microphone, this is what I would have said. Maybe you haven't actually physically said that or thought that, but over in your mind that if you had a voice and you could say something, that you know exactly what you would say. Because probably like Mr. Rogers, right? It's all good in the hood. That it's probably not been all good in your hood over the last week or in several places. But if you had a mic, what would you say? What would you stand up and do? Well, in 1964, they passed the Civil Rights Act that allowed and eliminated segregation. So people of different races could be together. They would no longer be separated, but there was plenty of white people that did not like that. In fact, were not allowing people of other races, of other color, to share the same swimming pool. And there was one person specifically that was appalled at this. 1 year after Martin Luther King was assassinated, a man used his microphone and his voice to make a difference. He couldn't stand it anymore. So what did he do? He invited an African-American police officer onto his show, and what did he do? He shared a swimming pool with him. Who was that? It was Mr. Rogers. That's right, Mr. Rogers knew it wasn't good in the hood. And so he invited somebody of another race onto his show amongst racial tension, rising tension, even after, a year after even, of Martin Luther King being assassinated. He said, I am sick and tired of this. Racism is a sin, and I am going to show America that I am going to use my voice, that we cannot stand for this. So, in a peaceable way, he invited an officer onto the show, and they shared a pool together, waiting in a little kiddie pool. Here's a picture of that right here. To take a stand saying, people, this is ridiculous. We can share a pool. We can be in the same place. He used his voice. Listen, your voice matters, and your voice needs to stand up and make a difference. It is making a difference. And you might think, well, how big is one voice? That was Mr. Rogers, and he had a TV show. Listen, if one voice of a racist police officer can blanket how people feel about people in blue, how much more can one voice in a positive way make all the difference? Your voice can make a difference and will make a difference. You are using your voice. You have a microphone. People are looking at you whether you realize it or not. So use your voice. Who do you need to invite into your swimming pool to stand up and say, you know what, that's wrong, and we need to be better than that? And it's apparent right now over the last week that we've seen that racism is alive, and that it's time to take a stand, to use our voices to say we still have work to do. So use your voice, take a stand, and be the difference in somebody's life. We'll see you next week, live at BSC. Peace out.